Welcome to Unselfishly Me, a podcast all about self-love, self-care, and everything in between. I'm Jane, a personal trainer with a focus on self-love. Each week, we'll be chatting to someone about their self-love journey, how long it took, and what it took to get there. Today, I am talking to Sizwe. She is known as Seize the Day on Instagram. You may have seen me sharing about my yoga classes or just chatting about anything to do with yoga and tagging Seize or her sister Zamo from the Toolbox. You also probably know her as my yogurt. I call her my yogi poet because when she's teaching her classes, she's just amazing. She starts saying all these incredible inspirational things that just stir something up inside of you. And that's why I loved going to her vinyasa classes. So now I'm doing some online classes with her because obviously we can't do anything in person. Just learning to make time for myself for yoga again, which has been incredible. All in all, I think she's one of the best yoga teachers in Durban. She is a beautiful soul. When she teaches for Secret Sunrise, when she has time, she used to be one of our instructors. Just everyone just falls in love with her and her beautiful soul and her beautiful spirit. So I'm so excited to interview her today, and I can't wait for you to get to know her a little bit better. So welcome, Sizwe. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thanks so much, Jane. I'm so glad we were finally able to get this going. I know we've been threatening for so long. So thank you so much for having me. A little bit about myself is I am a South African Black woman living in Durban. I am a yoga teacher. I'm a recently qualified coach, life coach. So I work in the realm of self-mastery, and I'm a studio owner. So I opened my own yoga studio called the Toolbox with my sister. I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, and I am trying to work to becoming more of an engaged citizen. I'm a dreamer. I'm a lover, and I'm a little bit of a fighter. Yeah. So.
And you're a Leo, just like me.
And I'm a Leo. Yes. So that's just part of just feeling a great sense of community. And so I am very much about my people. And, I think the part of Leo, everyone's like, oh, you're a Leo. You're so into yourself. And I'm like, okay. I mean, there's, I think, that element of Leo where there is a great sense of pride and love of oneself. There can be that. But I think the other part that people don't talk about is if you're a leader and if you take leadership seriously, which I think I do, you're then you're very concerned about the people who you're living with. So if it's this idea of a kingdom, right, then it's like, who's in my kingdom? And so I'm very much of a what's going on with everybody? Is everybody okay? Is everybody good? And just making sure that at least, if you're in my space, I try make people as comfortable as possible.
But I also think with that is if we didn't love ourselves and appreciate ourselves so much, we wouldn't be able to lead the way we are, because we are so whole within ourselves and confident in ourselves. It allows us to not sit in our stuff, and it allows us to move forward and help other people more, which I think is a great asset.
Yeah, no, I think everything has dark and light. I think, there's all parts of it, and it's all about managing and finding balance. And that's why, I practice so much yoga and do so much meditating. It's just like, I always I think I once saw a meme. It's like, if I didn't, Lord knows what I'd be like. But it is just that, just to bring that level of balance and just keep myself in check as well. And all of it, because I think the two sides is I can also sometimes be so much for everybody else and not so much for myself. And then, of course, the other side of how do you manage, self-love and it not to be arrogant. So everything has a light and a dark, and we're always just moving between the two and trying to find as much balance as possible. Well, I know I am.
Yeah. So what does self-love mean to you?
Self-love means to me, it's being able to live my life authentically, right? I think for me, a big part, growing up, I wasn't so confident. I'm a thick girl, and just at school. And so obviously, as is, I think, women just in general. So I've had a lot of weight issues and different things like that. And just always thinking like other people have it better. Other people know more, other people. And so just that trying to always make myself something that I'm not, or try and make myself accepted by people and fitting myself into a box. And so a big part for me of just like my self-love journey has been just coming to a place of acceptance, of owning myself, and just being like, it's cool. Like, this is how I look, and this is how I do things, and this is like my view on life, and just becoming more and more confident to speak my truth, to live my truth, whatever that looks like. So that's for me what self-love is. It's not always thinking like I'm wrong or other people know better, but just trusting my way, trusting my processes. Yeah.
So what does your journey look like from like senior primary, when we all kind of in that kind of awkward phase and everyone's comparing, and so what has your journey been like from there?
Well, it's been quite a journey, Jane. Like, I mean, when you take me back to senior primary, you take me back, so I'm in Durban Girls College. I'm like the only black girl in my grade. And I only mention like the race thing just because it's really, and I think it's coming out a lot in discussions and stuff in the schools. It's just really, really difficult to make a sense of yourself when no one else looks the way you look, right?
Yeah.
Like no one else. And just our bodies are different. Our hair is different. It's also like it's like the late 90s, early 2000s. So the way that people thought is also different. So very like awkward, but I've always been like pretty, just part of the Leo, I've always been pretty confident on like the outside. Let me say, I've always been able to project a level of confidence outside. I was fun, loving, like energetic, girl. Had like had a good number of friends, but just inside, not really happy with myself. So carrying that with me, I think things came to a real head when I got to 16. At grade 10 was, I think, my darkest year. That's when I just really developed and fell into like an eating disorder. So that's when I started like denying myself food, not eating, trying like different pills. I think it was Thins or something. I remember like going to Clicks and buying whatever it was, which now I realize was like basically taking like speed or E. And I just remember my heart, now when I think about it, like my heart racing, like in class, and just sitting through that. And like I just think about the things that we do to ourselves as girls,
So bad.
as women. Oh my God, like just being like going and buying that kind of stuff, taking that stuff without my parents knowing, trusting my other 16-year-old friends, that, yep, this is the way to go. When I think about it, it's actually madness. But yeah, so just really not liking myself, not really, and that kind of carried itself on through university, got to UCT. I mean, total write-off. I went from an all-girls school for 12 years, my strict disciplinarian parents' house, to like living and raised by myself in Cape Town. Like I totally lost it, went completely off the rails. I was such a partier. But it was good. It was good times. But as I'm saying, also just, hooking up with guys ghosting you. Again, what's wrong with me? Oh, it's because I'm fat. Oh, it's because I'm ugly. No one will ever like me. It's like the same issues, just like magnifying. So that's a lot of that. And then 23. No, how old was I? Yeah, like supposed to coming to the end of my university at about 23, major car accident, which resulted in 8 reconstructive surgeries. It took me about 2 years. Nothing from my neck down, hey, Jane, or my face. So it was my face and my head. I hit a horse in the Eastern Cape. My head was dragging out of the car. So my one side of my face, like all the skin, I had to be reconstructed. Lost my hairline, almost got what they call deglovement. So my tissue moved away from my bone. It just literally came off on my scalp. So I was down to the bone. So doctors are amazing. But it was my face, right? So here I am coming in with like not much confidence in myself. I've never really had like a proper relationship. And I was like, oh my God. I just remember lying in that hospital bed and thinking my life is over. Like nobody is ever going to love me. No one is ever going to accept me when I look like this. I was like, look, I didn't like my body. I was always fat, but my face was okay. I wasn't the prettiest, but I could, I could catch a thing or two, I was fine. And now my face was like completely destroyed. I was like, that's it. My life is over. Then my sister, my older sister at the time, was practicing yoga, and she took me to my first yoga class. And really, that is where I'd say healing started and began for me. It was Bikram. It was hot. I think I was like sick for 2 days after I did that class. Like everything came up. And I think a normal person would have been like, I'm never going back there again. But something said to me, like, I got to figure this thing out. And I was completely hooked. I was like a Bikram night for like 4 years, just that heat. But it just shifted the way I was seeing my body. It also helped me change like my body. It did, I lost weight. I kind of I toned up, but it was just something I could do. I was never a very fast runner. I was never, but something about me and the yoga mat, like I could do this thing and I could do it. And I just kept doing it. And from Bikram, I went into Vinyasa, moved to the States, did teacher training, became a power Vinyasa teacher, went to India, studied Hatha. That's when I really connected with the philosophy and shit. Oops, can I swear? Sorry.
Yeah,
Stuff really started to shift for me. And as I'm saying, I now had words to put behind the feelings that I'd felt. And I was then like really on a path towards self-healing and self-discovery.
It's crazy because I know that you had an accident, and that's how you went into yoga, but I didn't realize it was so bad.
Oh yeah. It was like, I mean, everybody, it was supposed to be, the fact that I didn't die was really like a one. And then also that I think the actual accident shifted things in me. So I didn't grow up religious. My parents, we didn't have anything like that. My dad, I'd say, is probably atheist. My mom is more on, like, I guess, with spiritual. But what happened that night was just sheer grace. And I couldn't deny that there were other forces at hand and at play beyond myself. So that was also quite a big shift for me. Like, not that it just opened up spirituality for me, which has also helped me, I think, with healing.
And your face is beautiful, and it doesn't actually even. I would never
And I know,
notice.
and no, not like I know, and thank you. Like, people tell me, everything, in terms of what I know is like a lot of the scarring, it's not as obvious. I mean, I still see it. I still immediately, when people say to me, I can't see, I'm like, whatever. I see it. But the thing is, I also learned in my healing process the power of the mind. Oh my God, like mind over matter. I had such a real understanding of it. And only looking back now, like, I was so young, Jane. I was 23. Like, I was so young. I didn't have a yoga practice or anything. But certain things were coming into my life. So I had this most amazing doctor. He was like a young guy. So my one eye, my left eye, was the muscles, because the eyelid had split in two. In the reconstruction, the muscles were still quite weak. And so I actually had a bit of a lazy eye for afterwards. And I remember just hating this eye and going on. And so the one day he's like, what's wrong? Like, oh, you've just got an attitude. And I'm like, oh, this eye, like, it won't open. It's like, whatever. And it's a stupid, lazy eye. And he's just like, please stop calling that eye lazy. He's like, anything but. He's like, the fact that your eye even opens from time to time, he's like, that eye is working harder than like any other muscle in your body right now. The fact that you can still see, you've just got to shift your perspective and the way you talk. He's like, you need to thank that eye. You need to get up every day. You need to look that eye, thank that eye, encourage that eye, love that eye. And honestly, Jane, I just started doing it. Like, I'd be like, hey, eye, I see you, like, in the morning. And literally, like, now, only when I'm really tired or stuff does this eye, can you see that the one eye is smaller than the other? But for the most part, like, it's good. And so I had these little things that when I look back, I'm like, oh, we're all kind of forming that pathway for me to understand the power of the mind, the power of my body. So shifting how I actually saw my body, not as this thing that has to look hot in jeans, but like, my God, like, my body carries me. It's able to bounce back. It's able to heal. So then it's just a shift of perspective. So it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, okay, I'm carrying a bit of fat, but there's also this, and this that's happening, which I have to just bow down to. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's so, I believe in all of that and the power of the mind. So that is incredible at that age that you could hear the message he was giving you and take that into your life and change things.
Yeah, I don't even know which part of me that was. I mean, I guess now I know which part of me that was. But it wasn't a conscious decision. I can't tell you that I'd studied this stuff and I knew this stuff. I was just lucky enough that I had people who were placed in my life at the time, and that I'm just so glad that I was stopped being random enough for those moments, because I really was a random, like, 23-year-old. I wasn't in no way like deep or connected or anything. Like, I was just trying to survive what had really ended up being, like, for me, I now look back and say the worst best thing that ever happened to me, but at the time was just the worst.
Yeah, for sure. So, what little self love practices do you do each day?
So my self-love practices every day, I do something called 3 good things. And so this is something I also teach as part of my coaching, and it has helped me so much. And it's just also, I think, in a time like now where we're all living through sheer and utter chaos, a pandemic, and as well as the shift of, like, really everything and like a new world order, right? Like we're seeing with all the different movements and things. But so, I mean, change, even though it can be good, it can feel like things are feeling like they're spinning out of control. So for me, what's really helped me is, as I'm saying, the 3 good things practice. And so that's this idea that nothing's is looking back at your day, at the day before, and just thinking of 3 good things that happened to you. 3 good things you can either give thanks for, or just like, oh, that was a good moment, or this was that. And just recognizing that even in despair, even when things are going a little crazy, good things are always happening. And so that's really helped me and just shift my perspective and keep my mind, just keep me not so depressed and stuff. Just being able to hold that even in scary, uncertain times, good things are also happening. So that's one of my practices. And then I've also more recently, not more recently, something that's really, really helped me is just practicing pranayama, so internostril breathing, and then going into meditation afterwards.
And those just really make a difference, hey? Sure.
Those things really, and what that does for me is it calms my central nervous system, so it takes me out of fight or flight. And out of fight or flight means that, so when we're either in fight or flight or defense, we're like in our base brain, right? We're just about protecting ourselves. It's feeling as if, like we've got to defend ourselves, or we've got to run, or sometimes it's just freeze. And so it's really hard to live like from that place, to dream, to do anything. And so just by keeping ways to keep my central nervous system calm, so I can get out of my base brain, come into like my forebrain. So that's the part of me that's creative and connection and like a little bit more peace and like stability, and not always second guessing myself and feeling like everybody's coming for me, and like realizing like, life's good and good things are happening. And so, that's really, really been helping me, especially since lockdown. Mm.
And tell us about your business and brand. So you touched on the Toolbox. You are an amazing yoga teacher. I know because I have been training with you. So obviously how you got into it was the car accident, but from there and your teacher training, like when you came back, how did you start the Toolbox with your sister, and how did you really get into it?
So, as I'm saying, Zamo, who's also my business partner and my older sister, she took me to my very first yoga class. So we were living in Joburg at the time. She was an advocate at the Joburg bar. She had her own practice. I was working for the city of Joburg. And we were just those corporate beasts living our lives. And yoga was this thing that, helped us, get into our black suits, business suits, as well as keep a level of sanity. Again, when I was practicing then, it was so physical, Jane. Like I had no idea. There wasn't, and if you practice, like Bikram doesn't really speak about the mind-body connection, right? But I just was feeling fantastic. And so I was hooked on that feeling. And Zamo and I would always be, and the woman who we trained with, Sally, and I think she's still got the studio now, she had this, and her mom used to be at like the front desk and used to sign us in. So it was a bit of a family business, and Zamo and I would be like, we're going to open a yoga studio. And for me, it was always going to be this thing that I did after I'd like lived my corporate life and done everything, like, like my retirement plan, you know what I mean? Or something like later, like, it's going to be something in the future. And then I think when I was living in Joburg, so again, going back to my car accident, I just wanted to get back to normal. All my friends had graduated and were working. And so even my recovery, I was like, I've got to get back so that I need to get my first job. I need my apartment. I need my car. I need to catch up. And I did. Like, I miraculously, and I absolutely did, got the job, got the car. And I was living this like life. And then got into this relationship. It wasn't so good. Things ended badly, and then I was just a wreck, and I realized that I had not dealt with actually everything that I'd been through over these years. And then I was like, I gotta go. And that's when I moved to the States, and as I said, became a teacher. Living in New York. I did my teacher training. I'd now discovered Baptiste Power Yoga, and Baptiste has a very strong methodology. And that's the first time I started understanding the body-mind connection and just speaking about self-inquiry and using my life almost like a curriculum. So self-study, right? All of these ideas. And I was like, oh my God, yoga is even more amazing than what I thought. And then I decided okay, I want to become a full-time teacher. And I got a job and I became a studio manager. So then that's all I was doing. I was living in this super small town. I was running this Baptiste yoga studio. I was teaching every day. And then in America, it's huge business. Sometimes I was teaching up to 3 times a day of this hot vinyasa. The woman I worked for took me to so many trainings and stuff. So I was just working on my skill set as a teacher and also understanding the business, which was incredible. She taught me everything. I was running this thing. And then I was like, I want to go home. And I'd kind of do that for a year and a half. And then I just decided to come home. And I came home and I came back to Durban, and I was living in Durban. And then a family friend was like, hey, I just saw this place that I think you could do a studio. Went in, saw the place. It was incredible. Zamo had also burnt out herself, and she was now living in Cape Town and had packed up she wasn't a practicing lawyer anymore, just also needed a bit of a breather. And I was like, yo, remember when we said you wanted to open a yoga studio? Do you want to do it now? And then I was like, I think I found a place. Come to Durban, see it. And then she saw it, and I felt like the place just chose us. And then it was just almost like, oh, now we're doing this thing. And so that was 2006. No, 2016. Sorry, what am I talking about? 2016. So yeah, we've had our own yoga studio for about 4 years. We called it the Toolbox because it's our ode to yoga. We feel that it's given us so many life tools, and we just wanted a place where people can come and collect tools. Because being human is hard. It's hardcore, and no one teaches you how to be an adult, how to be a person. And so we felt that yoga had really done a great job, and that's what we wanted to do, and just provide a space where people can come and learn. So it was yoga, and we did cooking demos, and I speak about it in the past because we're currently closed, but we had cooking demos and workshops, and just trying to give people yoga beyond the mat, beyond just the physical practice. And I've been talking about this, when we start to look at it as a tool for self-inquiry, for self-mastery, to understand ourselves, a tool for reflection. That's the kind of yoga I'm interested in.
So what is your favorite thing about yoga? Would it be the spiritual side or everything? Toolbox.
I say yoga is my favorite. It's my favorite gateway drug, right? Because I practice yoga, I now run. Because I practice yoga, I go to pottery and I do pottery. Am I making sense? It's
Yes.
It's that thing that is holding everything together. It's because I practice, because I love myself, because it's teaching me to love myself and understand myself and see myself. So all years, Jane, for years, I'd be like, I don't run. That's what I tell myself. Now, I'm clocking 30 Ks a week. I run 3 times a week. I'm going for 21. I'm doing things that I never ever imagined. And it's because I practice yoga, because I started to see myself in a different way. Thought I had weak legs. Check me out in chaturanga. Thought I did this. Thought my arms are weak. Oh, that's just a myth. Thought this about myself. Where is that coming from? Do the work around this. And so it's every time you step onto the mat, it's there's this opportunity to look at a mirror, and you get to see what reflects back to you. And if you can just be with that and not judge yourself and just kind of accept, then once you accept, you can change. And so for me, that's my favorite thing about yoga. It's yoga gave me my life back. It's given me back myself to myself.
So Is that your greatest takeaway as well for your yoga practice, do you think?
Yes, yes. It's like my greatest takeaway is that I am the greatest takeaway. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it just keeps showing me myself in different ways. And then the things that come up, and then it's like the work is never done because it's like, oh, shadow, oh, that, oh, what's that? Oh, I thought I was over that. Oh, that's also coming up. So it's like it's just a really, really good practice. And then sometimes it's nothing and I'm just flowing and I just feel really, really good. And then sometimes I'm like crying, and then sometimes I'm like angry, but it's just a place that I can get to really check in with myself.
I love that. Did you know we do Self-Love Sundays? Twice a month, we do 2 Connect sessions over Zoom. They're an hour long and they're 140 Rand per person. We have different topics and then we repeat the most popular ones, such as Manifesting 101, Journaling 101, and Boundaries. The rest of the topics include decluttering your life, negative self-talk, and how to get over that. We did Loving Yourself during lockdown, and we have a whole host of other ones coming up soon. It's a great way to sit back, listen, watch, and learn about topics that interest you and perhaps things you need to heal within your own life. For the full schedule for the month, you can head to my Instagram at unselfishlyme and then DM or email to book your spot. I hope I get to see you guys soon, and literally your faces, because it's amazing to connect over Zoom and you don't have to have your microphone on. You just need to sit back, listen, learn. If you want to ask a question, you can. It's really casual, but it's also really nice for you to be able to see my face and to ask questions in the moment, and anything that you need to hear. Generally, someone else will ask a question that maybe you were thinking of and that you were too shy to ask, and it's usually a nice mix of people that are extroverts and introverts. So the extroverted ones will generally be the ones who ask the questions and are sharers, and it's nice because if you're a little bit more introverted, you can kind of sit and listen to the answers, and it might be something that you want to know as well. But then you can also email me after the session if you have any questions and if you need any clarity on anything in your life. So I'd love to have you join us for one of our Connect sessions. You went on a healing journey. Tell us about that and how you decided to heal yourself. What did you learn and how did your body react?
So we were like, I think this is funny because you were my student at the time,
Yeah.
and you're pregnant, and I was secretly pregnant too, waiting for time to tell people, but then I didn't get there because I had an ectopic. So ectopic is where the baby's growing in the fallopian tube or sometimes outside of the uterus, but basically not in your uterus. And so I had to have pregnancy terminated, and in that, and it was really, really like traumatic because I really was something that I really wanted, and my husband and I, we'd like planned, and and I was like, oh, everything's going according to my plan, because that's also part of it, is like my control. I'm quite a control freak, but we'll get there. And so there it was, and then it was like, nope, ma'am, sorry, we've got to terminate this pregnancy. And then I was devastated and heartbroken, and that's what just, and then they discovered that I had fibroids, and from that, and then they wanted me to have a surgery to remove the fibroids, but then I found out that fibroids grow back, and I also found out that 40% of women have fibroids, and out of those 40% of the women have fibroids, 60% of those women are Black. I'm a Black woman. I'm a woman. I've got fibroids. What the is actually going on here, right? Like, so that is, again, my yoga practice, right? My yoga practice teaches me to be curious, right? It's taught me like to question and to be like, go deeper, go further. Don't always take things just as they are. That's one of my takeaways from my yoga practice. So here it is. It's like, okay, the doctors are telling me this, but now I need to understand. And then I was asking questions to Western medicine that they couldn't answer me. Right. So things like what causes fibroids? No real answer. Why do they grow back? No real answer. And so then that just took me on a journey of trying to discover, like through myself, of something I had. And I found that I got a lot more answers through Ayurveda. I got a lot more answers through traditional Chinese medicine. I'm working with the most incredible acupuncturist, and then it was stiff, and then what came up is, again, more stuff about myself, my character, my need to control, my lack of belief and love of myself, all of these things that, right, dis-ease, that create disease in the body. And just what the things that I heard, I was able to, it resonated. There's just certain things that you hear and you're like, that's the truth. And it made sense to me. And so that really sparked. So that's been the past year or so where I've been doing some real active healing, because just because you practice yoga, then I also had to realize, like, you can still have blind spots and there can still be things. And I was like, these things, like thinking a certain way for all these years doesn't go away like in a blink of an eye after you've done, a couple of classes or become a yoga teacher yourself. It's like you really got to just keep doing the work. And so, it's just that part of when you talk about self-love. And so we're talking about for me, understanding the chakras. So we're talking about the sacral chakra, which has got anything to do with, again, with women. And when you're sitting here in your uterus, it's also the place of that exact thing. So I didn't believe in myself, finding my own voice, becoming more expressive. We were talking now, like, as much as I'm confident, the thought of like doing my own podcast frightens me. Everyone tells me I'm such a great yoga teacher, but like, me, Jane, you follow me on social media. Like, I don't say anything about myself. You know what I mean? Like, so what's all that about? Like, there's one thing to be modest, but then there's another point of like, why am I so, like, why am I just never kind of able to give myself the big up or the praise or wanting people to look at me or notice me? And so all of that stuff has come in, like, and believing in what I create, right? And that's, what's a bigger creation than like making a child, right? So it's having to look at my sense of creativity, my sense of self-worth, what I put out there, my belief in myself. And so a lot of things have come up for me.
And I remember watching on your story, so you started doing like 30 days of meditation or 40 days, and they were like counting down the days and just watching, and I was just like, it was amazing because you were so like disciplined, and every day you were doing it, and it was quite long sessions as well, I think, was it?
Well, I started off with, I'd gone to this incredible teacher. I follow him, is Sadhguru. And I'd always followed Sadhguru and did his stuff like on YouTube and stuff. And so he is from India and I just like him. He's like this old guy. He's really quirky the way he teaches like yoga philosophy. And what I like most about him is like, he's always laughing. And like, I like that. Then I saw that he was actually coming to South Africa and I was like, what? And he was doing like a 4-day training and his is called Inner Engineering. So long story short, I went to his inner engineering course, and at the end of it, he practices. So his style is more of a Kundalini, you'd say, if you had to say it's anything. And so Kundalini, what they do is they give you it's like sets, and these sets are called Kriya. And you can there are hundreds of Kriya for, if you wanted to, Kriya for fertility, Kriya for self-love, Kriya for, so there are all these different things. And a Kriya generally has movement as well as breath work. So pranayama, it would have a meditation, and maybe and some chanting. So it brings everything together. And what I really like about, again, Kundalini and this kind of practice is that it brings in the holistic, where I think sometimes with vinyasa or like a hatha, we just working on the physical, but that's another conversation for another day. So I was quite into, so he basically left us with this thing called a Kriya, and what he said was for inner engineering. So he said, do this thing, and his rule, not rule, but the way he said is do this thing for 40 days, every day. If you miss a day, start again at 1. So I was like, okay, cool. So after I left it, I was like, oh, I'm so pumped. I tried to do the Kriya. I got to like day 21, fell off. Tried to do it again, got to like day 13, fell off. Then I had my ectopic pregnancy, and I thought like I would never get out of bed again. And like something came to me, and I just heard Sadhguru saying, do this Kriya every day for 40 days, and then come back to me and tell me how you feel. And then Jane, I just started. Like, I was at my worst state, and it was the one thing I told myself I need to do every day. And then I did it, and day 1 got me to day 2. Day 2 got me to the end of the week. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to feel a little better. End of the week took me to okay, I'm on day 21. Okay, I've got more days behind. I've got fewer days in front of me than I have behind me. let me keep going. And it literally like got me back together. I was able to get back to teaching. I was still grieving. I was really, really sad. But that sense of just like despair and weightedness wasn't there. So I was like, wow, and then yeah, that got me. That's when I did my first 40 days. And then New Year came, and I don't know how I convinced my husband. I said to Ali, let's start the year with the 40 days. And I think he'd seen me, and we'd obviously gone through the topic together. And I think he saw what it did for me versus when he wasn't doing it. And so he was quite keen. So we started on the 1st of Jan, took us to our first 40 days of 2020. Now I'm looking back and I'm like, thank you for giving yourself that. So we did 40 days. And then how Kundalini works is that they say you should do 40 days. And then we did another 40 days afterwards. We're like, was that a fluke? Let's see. We did another 40 days. And then we challenged ourselves to 90, right? So you're supposed to do 40, 90, 120. And then I think it's 3,000, like basically 3 years. But we just got to 90. And the 90 ended with lockdown, which is crazy. When we got through the last day, the actual day, so we went into lockdown. So that whole 40-day period, when I went into lockdown, I think I was on day 40. So my career took me to the end of lockdown. And again, amazingly, my husband lost his mother to coronavirus, and I think half of what made it a little bit better, if there is such a thing, was that we were coming in not from such an empty cup, but we had actually had something to fall back on. And, again, a reminder of like why you practice yoga. It was like, it was like we had that to fall back on. We weren't falling back on an empty tank, but we were falling back on like 120 days of yoga and meditation.
Sure, that's insane. I remember watching, and every time you start another one, I was like, oh, she's doing it again. She's doing it again.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just also understanding yourself. And that's part of me, like as a coach, like a self-mastery coach, is that, understanding myself. So I need that external 40 days. Just doing it because I'm doing it wasn't working. And so it was like, okay, how do I put this up? So let me make it a challenge, put it up as a challenge for myself. It's like, can I? And then after you've done 90 days of something, now it's not so much, I know that I can get up and, do my meditation, but I had to do that like 40, and then 90. So that's like what, 90, 80, my maths is showing 160 days or so. But that's what I needed to break in the habit for myself.
And I think also just when I was coming to class, I think I was coming once a week only. Yeah, on a Tuesday, my Tuesday class.
Tuesday nights. 5 p.m.
That class is the best.
I've been teaching that class for 4 years, like 4 years on a 5 p.m. I was teaching vinyasa, and it's quite sad. I miss it too.
Oh. But I remember just watching you. I think it was very hard for me, and I kept wanting to talk to you about it, but you're going through your own thing. And I actually, it was so hard when we heard you, obviously you told us in the one class, and then I was sitting there. I don't know, you were like a month behind me, I think. So I think I just announced it, and I felt so guilty. Like I would be sitting there, and then the more I came and the more I grew, and physically you could see, because I was quite small for like a long time, and I just felt so guilty that I was there and you wanted this so badly, and maybe I definitely didn't want it as badly as you did.
But that's what
was part of both of our journeys. It was quite interesting to be in it with you.
Yes, and I'm grateful to you, because it also did that for me. That just shows it's like everybody's got their time and everything comes in. You know what I mean? It's not about whether you want. Yeah, I don't know. Like I learned quite a bit there, and then it's also like, I learned to be gracious, and also had to confront things in me. Like obviously there's envy, there's feeling, and so all of that stuff like needs to come up. And so I was grateful for it, and I hope, don't feel bad at all. It was your blessing for your time, and that's it. Like everybody's got their own timing, and that is life also. It's like, again, goes back to 3 good things. It's like there's always good and amazing things that are happening in the world at different times, at different moments for people.
And I think it also, like seeing you go through it, and also what you were doing for yourself to heal yourself and the commitment you were showing, like stirred up in me, like, wow, like this, you know, other people can heal through things as well. And it just gave me even more respect for you. Even though like every time I was like, oh, like I felt bad, I'd be in class. And then every time you walk past, I was like, oh, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. But but also I just think I also needed to learn to let go, because I'm also a control freak, and just let things happen. You
Yeah.
can't control it, and you can't control things for your friends and the emotions that they're going through. And
No,
you know,
exactly.
as much as you
Exactly.
want to just like wrap them up, and like every time I was just like, oh, I feel so bad.
But isn't that, but that's life, right? We're
Mm,
all, there are things that some of us have, things that people want, and there's different things in different moments.
yeah.
And it's like, and that's it. It's like, and like what's interesting, like I'm seeing now, it's like things coming up about privilege and all of that. Is like we're all in different moments, and it's just about self-awareness, right?
Yes.
It's like you don't need to be sitting there pregnant with your belly feeling bad because I want to have a baby. But when there's an awareness around it, obviously there are certain ways in which you can still hold your happiness and your joy, but also hold compassion and empathy for me, right?
Mm.
And I can also feel my sadness and my want, but I can also at the same time hold joy for you, right? The two things can exist in the same moment. And that is what is so amazing about being a human being. And if we can work the work, we get to experience that, like opposite forces happening at the same time.
Yeah, I think, and in a privilege in any conversation, like we've obviously had lots of conversations lately about this, but also knowing that I'm privileged enough to have had her, and at that time, I think the hard part was because we were so close together, and that it wasn't like 6 months difference. I
Mm.
think because I could imagine the emotions and everything, but just seeing you go through the self healing and maybe learning all the Ayurveda and all the things that you wouldn't have really been looking into, or setting those days and setting those intentions of time for yourself.
Well, absolutely, because like I mean, the kind of mom I want to be, it's like I'm also like got to work through that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And like, and that's it. It's like everything I'm doing is just, yeah, it's just making me like not better because I wasn't worse. It's not even that way, but it's just like, yeah, everything's happening. I just have to keep reminding myself everything is happening the way that it should be. The lessons and the things that I've learned from this experience are incredible. It's also opened me up to a whole world that I knew nothing about. I knew nothing about the fertility struggle of women. And now I've got the privilege to have it's like, you know, it's made me, I'm able to be there for my students, for my clients in a different way. I've got a new perspective, so everything just, yeah, it showed me more. It's as I'm saying, I've gone into a world also of women, and there are a lot of us here with like sore periods and you know, struggling with fertility and all of that. And so, and what's great is that because I've got my yoga practice, and as I'm saying, my curiosity, and the thing is like I'm learning and I'm able to just like share what I'm learning so much more. Like I've been put into this position, you know what I mean? Like talking in my class to women who maybe, and then after class, someone coming to me and being like, oh my God, I had no idea. Or this happened to me and I wasn't going to tell anyone. Or, you know, I've had so many moments like that where I can't then deny, like, this had to have happened to me because, you know, look, now I'm able to, you know, empower other women, teach people stuff, give them a tool, give them a connection, you know, empower my own self. It's really, everything is just as it should be.
But that's the thing is, okay, people who haven't had the privilege of doing your classes, I call Sizwe my yogurt, my yogi poet, because she has these amazing words, and her way with words is just incredible. Like it's just kind of like, you know how someone just raps? It's just like Sizwe in the yoga class, just saying all these inspirational things, and you're like listening, and you're yes, yes, Sizwe. So I can only imagine, like, well, obviously I know because I know you, but all of this has just made you even more inspiring with your words and your knowing, I suppose, because you've got all this extra
Well, it's just it's
knowledge
yes,
now
it's
as
given me
well.
more depth.
Mm.
It's deep. It's given me more depth, more knowledge, more understanding, and again, like if we can just, which is something like because I'm currently doing a 6 months course with online Yogi Psych Soul. And like I'm now using this, like she just keeps saying like your life is your curriculum, like you can study yourself, and through studying of yourself there's so much that can unfold and learn. It will take you into paths, self-study. Then I started to looking at inner child work. Then you're looking at shadow work. Then I need to understand my chakras. Then I need to understand psychology. Then I need to understand nutrition. Then you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it's like, all of these things that before I just was Sizwe who'd studied philosophy, politics, and economics, right? Let's just say. But because of what I've done, I now know a little bit about nutrition, because that's what I needed to do, because at the time I need to, get my nutrition up. Now I know a little bit about, I'm not saying I can deliver a baby, but I understand the woman's anatomy and what goes into it and what all of that does, and especially my own anatomy and how that works. And then I had to understand, psychology and how my mind works, and which is my subconscious mind and my conscious mind, and what's my inner child, and how does my inner child, so these are things where if you're talking to a psychologist, they'll be like, oh, did you study psychology, or did you? I can have these conversations because I look at my life as a curriculum. I study myself, and through that you're able to go down so many different holes, and then sometimes it leads to career change, and you realize like, oh my God, I didn't know that this part would interest me, but I'm into this, and I'm so going on, am I making sense?
Yes, and I think that you would be the most incredible coach. Like just everything that you have spoken about in our yoga classes, and often, like I love the way we would start. We would all be sitting on the floor, and then you'd be in the front of the class and just talking about what's happened in that day or that week, or what's going on or what's on your mind, and just bringing like a topic into the room before we even start, and we're just listening to your words and then taking that into the whole class. It's just the way that you work and inspire is just amazing.
Well, yeah, that's for me, because that's what we call embodied. There's so many different ways to learn, right? So it's like my first thing is, one, if it's happening to me, it's got to be happening to other people. Like if I'm thinking about this, could I be the only one, right? And like for me, that's also helped as a teacher. It's like, how do I look at my life experiences and what I'm going through? And so then that also takes the edge off for me. Like I don't have to show up perfect. I don't have to have it all together, right? Can me and my students work this thing out? Can they see me also striving? Also, because this stuff is not easy, Jane. You know it. Like learning to love ourselves, all of this stuff is not easy. It's not child's play. And I think there is a level of connection where people can see you also trying, see you also striving, that they know that, you know what, I too can do this, because it takes a lot of courage and stuff to do the work that we're doing. And then that's why I love yoga. It's because there's this embodied learning, right? You get to practice and notice like, oh my God, what it takes to find balance on my mat. It's the same thing it takes to find balance off of your mat, or like noticing, yeah. So these beautiful connections where we what we call embodied learning, where it's like, oh, okay, I'm noticing that I do everything, all my yoga practices, I'm constantly gritting my teeth, right? And I'm pushing through. Everything's at 90 or 99. Whoa, where else am I gritting my teeth and pushing through? Oh, shit, that's my whole life. I'm gritting my teeth and pushing through. So there are these wonderful points of connection that you can find.
I love it. It's so interesting as well. So what do you love about the yoga community in South Africa, and what would you change if you could?
Oh, I love it. I think we've got some really, really good teachers. Like when I came back from the States, I mean, as I'm saying, it's like big business. It was very competitive. So little thing, for example. So in the States, if you work for one studio, you can't work for another. So I had to like get into that. Like, oh, I can work at Tree, and I can work at Breathing Space, and I can teach at my own studio. Like in America, that's not done at all, because it's so competitive. Like your teachers are your assets. So it's a good and a bad thing. So the good thing about that is that you then invest in your teachers. So I found that there was like a lot more training and development around the teachers. And so as a studio, you would take on your students, your teachers like that, and you'd want them to be, because the better your teachers are, the more people that come into the class, the better your business works, right? Makes sense. So I really did appreciate, but the other side of it is that is a very competitive nature. So there's that other side where there was that sense of like teachers competing against teachers, who's got more students, and like looking at it like a very business structured model. The thing I would say, like a couple of things I'd change. I think that the South African, or just generally well-being, and we're seeing this happening now, is like I think more diversity. It's just a very, very white-dominated space, and so for me, that's like across board, whether you're in America or South Africa. So that's like for me, the wellness industry can do with a lot more diversity. And then I think South African yoga community is not looking so much to the West and how they're doing it, and figuring out what is a South African or an African wellness studio look like. Let's talk and look at our situations, our problems. What are the issues that are rising up in our communities? What are our people sick with? And just trusting our way a little bit more, and not so much always trying to model ourselves on like American or Australian or like the European studios, which I think is what happens. And it's like understanding that we've got our own unique perspective, and let's put ourselves up in a way that speaks to us and our communities.
I completely agree with all of that. So what advice would you give to someone who is too nervous to start yoga? Because I was that person once upon a time.
Oh my God. It's like, one, don't look at social media yoga. That put out your mind. And then I think it would be I think what people don't understand, like, shop around, right? Like, try different styles, try different teachers. This practice it's quite a personal thing. And so in the same way, you're going to try on shoes here, when you're looking for a pair of black shoes, you're going to go in and buy the first pair you find, right? You know that your shop around, try different styles. So maybe what you did, you hated yoga, you didn't realize you walked into a hatha class and you're more of a vinyasa girl or boy, or you know what I mean? So there's different styles, different teachers, and also just, like, it's not so much, like, as much as I know, and it's so difficult because that's part of it. It's like, it's so different from anything else. All the rules that apply in the rest of the world, like doing it right, looking certain way, like, it doesn't apply there. It's really just about breathing and just moving your body and taking time with yourself. And so, I just think, shop around, in fact, feel comfortable, find something that you feel that you can connect with, be easy with yourself. Don't look so much and don't care so much about the poses and what they look like.
Also, and I'm saying this with the utmost love, and I know everyone starts everywhere, but from my personal experience, when I was working at Virgin Active, my first ever yoga class was with someone who was teaching at Virgin Active, but he was teaching all the different classes. So not just yoga, it was Pilates, it was power pump, it was this, that. And I did not enjoy it at all, to the point where I never even tried yoga for, I think, 3 or 4 years after that. And then I moved across to the Moses Mabita one, and Megan Medina was teaching there. Now I think she's probably an exception to the rule, and she was incredible. And then from there I was like, oh, this is really nice, but then I didn't carry on with it.
But that's the point I'm trying to make, is that
got to
shop around. You have to. It's not, listen, there's levels to everything. And that's including yoga experiences. Some people are experienced and are able to handle people and treat them in a way that is respectful and bring them towards, and some people are not. So that's also another thing. If it doesn't feel right, if you don't feel like that yoga teacher, move on. Not all yoga teachers are the same. Find someone who is going to speak in a way that you know what I mean? I don't know. It's like, we're not all the same. And so you've got to connect. You've got to find the style. You've got to find the environment, the teacher that you like, and that you feel comfortable, because it is such a space of vulnerability that you need to find something that you feel really reasonably comfortable. And then also at the same time, I want to say, with all of that said, and this is also the paradox of life, is like I said, I struggled with my first yoga class. I felt sick as all hell. So not everything is going to feel great. Not everything is going to be lovely. I was actually very uncomfortable. And it's getting okay with that. That is the yoga. That's the yoga.
And environment is important, like you said, because I did her 2 classes there, but I found personally that
a studio, like a yoga studio, lends itself so much more to yoga for me. Like it's almost like also setting more of an intention. I'm going to yoga, whereas if I was at the gym, I was like, I'm at the gym, yeah, I might as well go.
And yoga has, and the thing is, and that's the thing, yoga has a philosophy. There's so much that goes behind it, and so a very skilled teacher like Megan Medina can take that and be able to change the
environment,
the energy force field of what's happening in a gym, right? She's got that skill because she has a deep understanding. She's a highly skilled teacher. Not everybody's there, either time they've been teaching, way that they've been taught, their understanding, their own shadow work. Yoga teachers are not perfect, their work that they need to do as well. So there's a whole lot of things. So that's why I'm saying shop around, see where you feel the most comfortable level of connection, and then also see if you can withstand your judgment of the practice. I would say to someone, go to at least 3, 4, 5 classes before you decide that yoga is not for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think if it was the first one, not even then, if it was even coming like to you or whenever, the first class is hard. Like your body is moving in a way that it's not used to.
Exactly. So go try it once a week for a month. Then tell me how you find yoga. And not just the class, also because you're going to notice already the shifts outside. So give something its due course. I think we have a lot of instant gratification right now. We want quick, fast, convenient, and not everything is going to fall into that. But what's nice about it now, if people are trying to, with lockdown, if you've always been nervous, this is a great time to start practicing yoga, because guess what? You don't have to walk into a studio. You can get online. You can catch a class in the privacy of your own home, camera on or off. I do suggest on, for the teacher to teach, but you don't have to. So then you can experience it. It's not so much of a commitment as before where you have to, you know what I'm saying? Yes. Go to your yoga studio and stuff. So this is a great time. So much stuff is also online. And then also get a private, like get a teacher to teach you your one or first class in private, because then they can also tailor it, look at you, understand, especially if you've got injury or something, not sure, feeling a little self-conscious, all of those things. Like a skilled yoga teacher can really, a one-on-one with someone skilled can be quite helpful.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking on that, how can people get some of your magic, and what are your current offerings?
So I am because of Corona, my physical space is currently closed. So I'm online, and so you can find our classes on the Toolbox 260 on Instagram as well as Facebook, and or you can email info@thetoolbox260.com, and then you'll get through to either myself or Zamo if you've got any questions. So that's my physical space in my yoga studio, and I teach on a Tuesday, 4:30. I teach a vinyasa class, and then I also teach. So vinyasa is, if you like to sweat, it's like we move, we sweat. It can be quite challenging, and so that's that. And if you know you're a bit of an A personality, A type, they tend to like the vinyasa to start with, and so that's the vinyasa. And then it's more of a cardiovascular movement. And then complete opposite, on a Thursday, I teach yin, which is restorative, which is super slow, but just as powerful practice. So those are my 2 classes on a weekly. Group classes, a Tuesday and a Thursday. And then if you want to just practice with me, do on a private, I've got privates. I also have different packages around my privates. And so you can contact me. I'm Siz the Day, so it's SIZ from Sizwe. So it's SIZ the Day, and that's on Instagram. You can send me a DM, Sizwe Mji on Facebook. You can also direct message me on Facebook, and then if you want to email me, that's also, and it's NOSIZE.mji, so nosize.mji@gmail.com. And so those are my offerings. So privates, and then I'm also a coach. So if you'd like to do coaching with me, I have a 10-week program. I call it Self-Mastery. And for me, it's all about, how do you make your life the curriculum? How do you learn? I know that through self-study, through understanding yourself, we can begin to, what we're talking about, self-love, live in an authentic way. And it just builds resilience. And so that's my 10-week coaching program that is also available. But if you contact me, I can send you price lists and we can talk and figure out what you want to do. Various offerings I also do, which I'm really getting into and enjoying, is yoga nidra. And so that is this idea of yoga sleep, and that's me getting into your subconscious. But the way I do it is the first session we work on your resolve, so that's your sankalpa, so figuring out what is it that you really want to achieve in life. Once we get it down to one sentence or an affirmation, which is what I help you do, I have a process, and then I can take you through 8 sessions where we plant this resolve into your subconscious mind. So number of offerings, but yeah, just contact me and we can take it from there.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And any final thoughts that you'd like to share?
I just really enjoyed this, and so thank you again.
So now you'll start your own one, hey?
Yes, and I think and I guess my final thoughts are, hey guys, just hang in there, man. Being human is not the easiest. It's really a rough ride from time to time. There's just so many things. Our past, our future, our minds are incredible, but it is also that thing that can kind of, just not learning. I'm waffling, but I just want to say to people, keep up the good fight. And that, there are places, so there's coaches and there's yoga teachers and there are things and tools that we can pick up that can help us. I think creating health for ourselves and creating a life that is authentic and happy is a DIY job. But you do not have to do it alone. And so just noting that, listening to things like podcasts and stuff, big up yourself for that, making it to a yoga class, just give yourself, I like to say, cut yourself some slack. And just appreciate whatever you're doing for yourself, and that this is a very, very difficult time, and just hang in there. And if anything, deep breaths. That's my final word, is just keep taking deep breaths if you can. Keep calming the central nervous system.
Agree. All the deep breaths. Thank you, my friend, for joining and inspiring and sharing your light as always. I will put all of Sizwe's links into the show notes so you guys can just click on over. But thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to Unselfishly Me. Follow us on Instagram at unselfishlyme and check out our website www.unselfishlyme.com.